Hello, I'm Stacy and welcome to my channel, Stace Reads a Bit. I'm here with my September wrap-up. As many of you know, I set the goal to read 4 books in September, and I reached it. I'm pretty pleased with myself, actually. It was a pretty stressful month. I had a lot going on. My nephew was born, and he spent 3 weeks in the NICU, so I was kind of worried about him. I had school, I had work, but I still made 4 books happen. So the first book I read, well, I actually listened to it on audiobook. I listened to The Couple Next Door by Shari Lapena. I happened upon this book just on Overdrive and checked it out. Really, I mean, I didn't know anything about it, but I was pleasantly surprised. It is the story of a couple who leaves their infant daughter asleep in her crib when they go next door for a birthday dinner. They take the baby monitor and check on her every half hour, but when they come back from dinner, she's missing. So it's the story of her missing and the investigation that happens afterwards. And I really, really enjoyed it. I think we can all kind of... it immediately reminded me of Madeleine McCann and that whole fiasco of who did it. Is she alive? Is she dead? Who... Was it her parents? Was it some stranger lurking around the resort? And I think there's something very interesting when an author can prey on your worst nightmare. I think, I'm not even a parent, but I can't imagine what it would be like to just come back and your child is missing. I wasn't super surprised by any of the plot twists or turns, but once again, I felt like the writing, the dialogue, and the writing style made up for it. I ended up giving it 4 stars, and I think it's a very good kind of mystery for the season. Like, it's that nice fall weather, so we're starting to get into the little creepier books. Or at least I know I am. I'm trying to find them. I'm seeking them out. The next book I listened to on audio was Beartown by Fredrik Backman. I listened to the audiobook of A Man Called Uvo, which is also written by Backman, and Aaron over at The Waiting Moose reviewed Beartown and gave it a glowing review, so I knew I had to check it out. I ended up listening to it on Overdrive because that worked better with my schedule and my commute. Loved it. It's the story of a town that really doesn't have a whole lot going for it. The factory's laid off a lot of workers, not a lot of jobs around. The one thing they have is they have a really good hockey team. And it's the story of this whole town and how it operates around hockey and how people actually build lives around a sport that they don't even have a professional team for. I really loved the story of the comparison of the student who has been bred and taught and trained in a way that his parents are expecting him to go to the NHL at some point versus the immigrant who has fought and clawed his way to get on the team and is still wearing skates that are too small for him because his mom can't afford new ones. And this is, from what I read, there's going to be a follow-up to this, and I can't really give too much, I can't go too much into detail without ruining some of the plot for you, but just trust me, read it, love it, and you will be sitting on the edge of your seat waiting for the second installment like I am. The third book I finished was Are You Anybody by Jeffrey Tambor. I knew very little about his life going into this book, which I think worked out better because everything was news to me, if that makes any sense. He tells the story of his upbringing, his early days in theater, and even how he went about getting work in television. I would have never known that he had an alcoholic for a mother who was emotionally abusive, or that he owns a bookstore in Los Angeles. I didn't find him pretentious or haughty. I found him actually very humble for someone with his status in the industry, and I really liked it. I learned a lot about him. I learned a lot about how acting works, just because it's not my profession, so I don't know how callbacks work and auditions and all that. And it made me like him more as a performer, so now I'm rewatching Arrested Development and catching up on season 4 of Transparent. I believe I gave this 4 stars. Alright, the last book I read this month is The Life We Bury by Alan Eskens. This was for my Facebook book club. We take turns picking books, and one of the members picked this book for September. I didn't love it. The story is a college student named Joe is assigned to do a biography on an older person. And since he doesn't have any family, he decides to do it on a random person from a nursing home. So when he goes to the nursing home, the only person who really knows what's going on is this guy named Carl. And Carl is on hospice after just being released from prison. He was convicted in the early 80s of raping and murdering a 14-year-old. Joe starts to write his story, and he starts to question whether or not Carl's guilty. So he starts investigating, and he starts contacting people, asking questions of why wasn't this looked up, why haven't DNA samples been taken, etc. I liked the story premise. I did not like the execution. The dialogue was quite unnatural. I didn't love the love interest. I didn't like how he set the love interest up. And it all came together very nice and neat and tidy, and nobody was worse for wear. I just wasn't a huge fan of this. I still gave it 3 stars because I thought it was an inventive idea, but I would say skip this one. It's not worth your time. So that has been what I read in September. For October, I'm hoping to do 3 books, and I'm sure I'll be back with a TBR soon. I'm setting my sights a little bit lower for October for a few reasons. I've got quite a few shows that are back on the air that let's be honest, I keep up with, like Will and Grace and This Is Us and American Horror Story. So I'm watching more television now that it's fall and I'm indoors more. And also it's my birthday this month, so there will be, I'm sure, a couple of days of me, going out and having a few adult beverages, so I won't be reading on those nights. But I hope you enjoyed this. If you liked it, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And if you've read any of those books, go ahead and comment below. Do you have any other suggestions of things you think I would like? And I will be back shortly with another video. Thanks. Bye.